So anyway, the Donald community over on Reddit has been quarantined.
You know that incel one, when I was in the incel episode, they were actually quarantined too.
Yeah, a lot of the controversial subreddits do end up getting quarantined.
And now the Donald
And usually
has them.
being quarantined is kind of the first step of just being removed.
Right.
Because, that just tends to happen. I've seen it happen a few times with these subreddits. I never thought one as big as I think Donald is probably the biggest subreddit to ever be quarantined, I would have to guess, because it's huge.
It's almost 1 million people following.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking like 750,000 people following this subreddit. You got 50,000 people on right now. And here is a quarantine notice that's been pinned, I guess.
By, I guess, Reddit admins?
I think Reddit admins actually have pinned this, so let's go ahead and take a quick look at it. Dear mods, we want to let you know that your community has been quarantined, as outlined in Reddit's content policy. The reason for the quarantine is that over the last few months we have observed repeated rule-breaking behavior in your community and an over-reliance on Reddit admins to manage users and remove posts that violate our content policy, including content that encourages or incites violence. Most recently, we have observed this behavior in the form of encouragement of violence towards police officers and public officials in Oregon. This is not only in violation of our site-wide policies, but also your own community rules, rule number 9. You can find violating content that we have removed in your mod logs.
So they're kind of making an argument here that the Donald has these rules, but they're just not enforcing them at all.
Well, and plus there's wider rules of Reddit itself, and inciting violence is not okay with the rules.
Clearly the Donald has these rules, so the Reddit admins haven't cracked on them before. They probably didn't have these rules when they initially launched this subreddit.
Probably
It's
not.
probably just a way for them to keep the subreddit up.
But yeah, you see there's rule number 9, no threats towards government officials. I don't know why there should be threats towards anybody.
Well, I mean,
But
if you go online, you'll see a lot of people threatening
Right.
government officials.
Yeah, and I mean, we've done it probably on this show. Well, we haven't outright threatened. We've just said it would be cool if a revolution happened and they all got, decapitated in the streets. But we never actually said we would do it. So
Right.
I guess that's the thing.
We're lazy.
That's a fine line.
None of us are doing shit.
We're just like, if that happened, I wouldn't cry.
I don't think anybody would.
No, I don't
I think
think
most
so.
people would cheer.
Dude, me and you have talked about, like, if there was a violent revolution and people storm the Capitol kind of thing, like, there'd be a few politicians, like the Bernie Sanders of the world, people be like, yeah, we're not going to guillotine him. But, like, for the most part, there wouldn't be many.
Even if they did, I would just take the kind of, like, gotta break a few eggs
yeah,
make
I would,
an omelet.
I wouldn't support them guillotine Bernie, dude. But,
I wouldn't either, but...
I
He's lived a full life.
Yeah, he's old.
But he's old, so it's like, all right, the guy guillotine them all, well, whatever.
I mean, if there started to be guillotines, I think Bernie would probably be one of the ones like, yeah, chop his head off.
You think so?
He'd be running one of them.
Yeah, probably. Take that, capitalist dog.
All right, let me pull the cord.
So as for this Oregon stuff, we haven't covered it on the show, so let's just very briefly kind of talk about it. There was some cap and trade kind of things on carbon. There was going to be a carbon tax.
Which they have in California, I believe.
Right.
Already.
And so Oregon, the Oregon Republicans said, hell no, we're not going to do that. And so they had no power in the legislature, basically. Because,
to stop it.
Yeah, because they didn't have enough votes, but they did have enough people where if they all just left,
it's called a quorum.
Yeah, a quorum. Where if they all just left and didn't show up and didn't vote, then there wouldn't be enough people there to even have a vote, and so they could stall the process that way.
Right.
And they did that. And then the governor of Oregon is like, fuck this, we're going to send out the police to find these guys, and maybe some women, I don't know, to find these Republican state senators that are not showing up to have this vote, and we're going to bring them here and force them to fucking vote.
Right.
So then one of these state senators, I believe, said that, if any police came after him, he'd shoot them. And then a bunch of militia groups got involved and said that they would defend the Republican senators. And it just became a giant fucking mess.
One of the guys that sending bachelors and shit.
The Republicans
we're
ultimately
kill anyone that comes for us.
And by the way, this strategy by the Republicans ultimately did work, and that bill is basically dead. So
hey, there you go.
I guess throwing a massive hissy fit and getting militias and guns and shit involved will actually get results. Strangely enough. So anyway, that's what happened in Oregon. So let's continue to read this quarantine notice. As we have discussed in the past and as detailed in our content policy and moderator guidelines, we expect you to enforce against rule-breaking content You've made progress over the last year, but we continue to observe and take action on a disproportionate amount of rule-breaking behavior in this community. We recognize that you do remove posts that are reported, but we are troubled that violent content more than often goes unreported and worse is upvoted. User reports and downvotes are essential a way that Reddit functions to moderate content. Blah 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 blah. It just goes on and on and on. So here's their quarantine terms, I guess. Visitors to this community will see a warning that requires them to explicitly opt into viewing it, which I had to do just now. Custom styling has been disabled to restore the downvote and report buttons. So the next steps, unambiguously. I also noticed, by the way, that the Donald seems to have been pulled from the list of subreddits that I follow, which they don't mention here. But when I went looking for it in my list, I couldn't find it.
Is that something that happens when they quarantine a place?
I guess so. I explicitly had to type it in to find it.
Yeah, you do.
So even if you followed it previously, it's no longer going to show up on your little feed. At least it didn't for me.
Right.
So here's the next steps. You unambiguously communicate to your subscribers that violent content is unacceptable. You communicate to your users that reporting is a core function of Reddit and is essential to maintaining the health and visibility or viability of the community. Following that, we will continue to monitor your community, specifically looking at report rate and for pattern rule-violating content, undertake any other action, blah, 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 blah. It just goes on and on.
They're basically saying the community's toxic and the community has to change and start reporting shit and doing stuff that's in line with Reddit's rules.
I have personally observed that what Reddit here is saying about this community, I've observed it to be true. Absolutely. I've seen violent content on there. I've seen racist content on there. I've seen basically all of these rules that they have posted to the side of this thing is broken.
Yeah.
Like rule number 3 there is no racism and anti-Semitism.
Oh, come on. I mean,
and I see racism on this fucking thing all the time. I saw one the other day. I'll read it to you because I actually saved it because I was actually planning on maybe doing something about the Donald. I probably won't now that they've been censured like this because I don't feel like kicking them while they're down. But let's see. I saved it here. Fuck.
I guess maybe he didn't save it.
Here, screenshots, yeah. Here it is. Nope, that's Ben Shapiro.
Even worse, dude.
Ben Shapiro, here we go. Okay, this is a person talking about the crime in Chicago.
Okay.
Chicago alone
Oh my God.
accounts for Illinois being a fucking dump. Chicago. Cook County gets hit by an atomic bomb, and Illinois would be fantastic. Take the, and then he spells it like...
Except all the fallout, dumbass.
He spells this as 2 words. Take the Negroes out of nearly any situation, and you'll have a prosperous, sprawling metropolis.
Wow. Okay.
So, I mean, it's not... There's no ambiguity there. There's no, like, oh, is that a racist state? That's absolutely... I mean, like...
Chicago. I mean, I don't think there's any dispute.
I mean, come on now.
Is there any dispute that this person is a racist? I mean, I don't think they're even trying to be ambiguous about it. They're saying that it's basically black people that destroyed Chicago.
And here's one other person saying that if not for all of the illegals voting in the election, Donald Trump would have won the popular vote.
Okay, sure.
I mean,
sure
it's just
they
they live in a fucking world of fucking delusional fantasy, basically, is what it boils down to.
Why don't you go live in Chicago then?
Ultimately, though, Reddit's already a cesspool of censorship and shittiness, so this is not unexpected. But in my world, the Donald would have their stupid little racist shithole subreddit to post Chicago memes in, because I'd rather have it out in the sunlight than behind a fucking veil.
So top comment.
So,
absolute
top
horseshit.
comment is absolute horseshit. Conveniently, the day of the Dems debate,
It's a
something
conspiracy
stinks.
theory shit.
What I mean, you guys. I mean, if you guys think you're wielding some kind of
Something
tremendous
stinks.
influence over the fucking course of the debates, you're fucking high.
Oh yeah, dude. They definitely like
You're
this
high
was
on your own shit.
this was
fumes.
done particularly to keep the Donald from commenting on those debates. Definitely, that's why this was done.
Reminder that there are over a dozen subs that called for the assassination of President Trump, but TD gets quarantined.
Which ones are they?
Yeah, like which ones? Which
Yeah,
one's
mean,
did
look,
that?
it would have been cool if there were links.
Citation needed.
Yeah.
I mean, if
you
you have
don't,
links
you
to
can't
that-
post something like citation needed on the Donald though. That'll
Oh,
get you
taking a
banned.
shot
You
at
let
Chapo.
politics, X chromosome, and world news, etc., get away with it daily. So at least this person's citing examples.
I guess a lot of people are blaming Chapo Trap
Not
House.
really
And
examples.
fucking Chapo.
That person at the very least pointed and made an accusation at some subs, but he didn't provide any examples of any of those subreddits.
Right. Chapo Trap House explicitly calls
Yeah,
for violence.
What? Where? When?
Link.
Why can't we just get a fucking link? Like, here's episode 13 minutes
I mean, it's not
in.
hard.
Yeah, 13 minutes in. Chapo Trap House violently killed Donald Trump. It's like, where is that?
Damn, we really are winning, huh? I guess.
God.
I haven't once seen a call to violence for police officers in Oregon here over months. What the fuck are they talking about? I have seen tons of calls for violence on this subreddit.
Oh
You're
yeah,
high.
that's a
Oh,
stupid.
damn.
You're
content-
either lying or you're high.
Look at that content removed by, or comment removed by moderator.
What was this?
Probably like,
So apparently something right under
garbage.
this was probably fucking like, yeah, violence. Wow, for 2020 election reasons. This is why they did it. I'm not clicking on a mysterious link to who knows what.
Good choice.
This actually pisses me off. It's a war. Election interference.
well, also, a lot of them have the narrative that this is actually Reddit trying to interfere with the presidential election.
I'll tell you what caused this. The Veritas video. Someone is rising, noted earlier that accounts that linked to the video were being permabanned. The post was shortly yanked, and then this happened. They are seriously freaking the fuck out about the general public taking notice of their bullshit, and it's being discussed right now in Capitol Hill. Might be a good time to let your congressman know.
Yeah, everybody's got their reasons why this happened.
It's because they're trying to censor us before the Democratic debate. It's because of the Project Veritas video.
It couldn't be because you're actually guilty of the things that they said you're guilty of in the fucking post they made to you,
No.
right? Threats and
That would
violent
be
content
obvious
and shit.
because obviously there's none of that going on.
No.
I mean, it says right here, you know, this post, since it's going to be a long, rambling fucking mess anyway, it should have just exhaustively posted all their
They
fucking
did down
shit.
at the bottom. Down at the bottom, they have links to shit that they've removed.
Where's that?
Isn't it right
This
there?
is the message
right
sent
there.
to us, a prayer request I'm sharing with you. Okay.
Yeah, click on that.
Oh, okay.
Oh my god.
Come heavily armed.
Oregon senator threatens violence.
Remove comment, remove comment, remove comment. It's like,
So this is a log of the stuff they had to remove here.
Right.
Yep.
Over the last 30 days that people that outside the Donald
Yeah, the
have
admins
had to
of Reddit.
remove.
Yeah, the
So
admins of Reddit have to
Reddit
deal.
admins have had to come in on all of these occasions and come remove shit, basically.
Yeah, that's what they sent a
It
link
seems
to.
like really what they're getting at is a failure to moderate the community within the rules of Reddit, and they're just saying, look, we're tired of moderating your community
I mean,
for you.
all that shit they were talking about with the upvotes, downvotes, Reddit down or disabled with custom styling any downvotes and the report button as well. And
Yeah.
so Reddit is saying you can't do that because that's how
Yeah, because if you went to the Donald before, like there was no ability to downvote anything.
right.
It was just like you clicked this was nothing, and then there was like Trump's face up here. You couldn't report shit. You couldn't fucking downvote shit.
So
So yeah, whatever.
no, they
And now-
said
and they're
the
mad at-
Donald says they did that to prevent brigades of leftists coming over and burying stuff,
Right.
which is probably true, honestly.
Yeah, it probably is.
And now they're open to that again. So
Oh, dude, you want to see some? Look, TJ, Google censorship right here. Let's see.
I've watched it actually. I saw this. So on DuckDuckGo, you get all the fucking creepy shit about Joe Biden, but on Google, you don't. See, on DuckDuckGo, creepy with girls.
Creepy meme, all that stuff.
But if you go to Google and type this shit, you get none of this stuff.
yeah, well, that doesn't
Damn,
surprise me
dude.
at all.
Censorship, guys.
Censorship.
It's very fucking real.
No, I mean I watched the Project Veritas shit, and Google is definitely up to some fuckery, but I'm not about to buy a slickly produced, out of context, conversational fucking documentary.
Ominous music playing over the whole thing.
Yeah, like
It is more corroborating
dread-inducing,
evidence.
ominous piano, tinkling piano over the whole thing, and like a totally anonymous Google employee providing narration to the out-of-context
no.
clips. No thanks. Like, there's some wild shit said by Google employees and some stuff that deserves discussion.
Scrutiny,
but
yeah.
I'd rather just see the conversations in
Right.
total.
I just would like. I mean, it just. I've been suckered in before by here's this video that we show this, but then it turns out that it's been edited to look like something
Right.
it's not.
Well,
So I mean, like when you put out a video like that, I think you need to show us like also here's
the full context.
full context of like whatever amount of video we have. If there's 20 hours, if there's 30 hours,
You can be
whatever, we
very
should be able to
easily
see the
deceived.
whole fucking thing.
Well, this is, I mean, and this company, Project Veritas or whatever, it's their MO.
Right.
Like they get these interviews and they pluck two little things out of the interview, wrap it all in dreadful music and shit, and put a big heavy tone over it and act like it's an expose. You know, there's some, like I said, some of the statements made stand on their own, I think, is scary.
Yeah, I mean, like
in terms of how Google
pretty
feels
hard
like
to-
it's responsible for controlling a political narrative in this country.
Yeah, that was pretty fucking bizarre when that woman was like, you know, we need to. She was talking about Elizabeth Warren. She's like, Elizabeth Warren wants to break up Google, and you know, that's a bad idea because you know we need to be whole to prevent another Donald Trump situation. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
That is not your fucking purview, Google. That's for the American fucking voters or whatever to decide.
You're seeing a slickly edited piece of content,
Right.
and I mean the thing is like without the full context of the conversation, and to conflate the
I don't know what context could vindicate that
con-
particular line.
to
but
conflate the opinions of an employee of a company with the actual policies of the company.
that's also fair.
You
Well,
know,
they show some internal documents too. One of them discovering or discussing their fairness-based AI. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that they discuss in that document is the fact that, you know, if you search for CEOs, predominantly when it comes to America, CEOs are male. Mm-hmm. But Google, even though that's the truth, it doesn't fit the fairness doctrine. So when you search CEO on Google, you're going to get a mix of male and female CEOs, even though males are vastly overrepresented.
Right.
So it doesn't fit the fairness quotient of the AI. So it, you know, your research results are skewed based on what they feel is fair.
I mean, if there's more
I
corroborated
mean, doesn't that
evidence
ultimately
like that, that's
doesn't that
that's
ultimately
one of them.
harm women? You know,
Well, because of false impression.
Because it just, I mean, if you want to make the case like there's not enough women CEOs, well, you type it in Google CEOs, a bunch of women pop up. See, there's no problem. It's fine.
Well, the crux of that idea is that should there be more? And
I just don't-
And people can argue yes and no, but the thing is that it shouldn't be more based on how good of a job you're going to do. Just having someone as a CEO, whether male or female, it shouldn't be based entirely on their, you know, whether their gender is. It's the performance with the company. If a woman can run a company just as effectively as a man, which they definitely can, in some cases they do. I see no problem with it either way, but just to be for that to be the focus, it seems misguided.
should there be more, in my opinion? Yeah. Is it Google's job to make that happen? No. They're a search engine.
What I was saying is that I feel like what they're doing in that instance at least is making it a little harder for women because it makes it seem like there is no problem. You see, this is the problem with trying to craft your own reality as a search engine. Because, you know, you can craft... All you're really creating is a false impression of what reality is. You know, Google should reflect the results in an unbiased way. And this is a reason why, you know, I don't even use the Google search engine very much anymore. I sometimes use it because it's default on so many browsers.
I use DuckDuckGo.
Yeah, if I'm actually searching for something, I'm pretty much using DuckDuckGo at this point.
I mean, another problem is like, you know, things let's say like the wage gap, for example. Like if you talk to a lot of people, it's just a fact. But then if you examine the facts behind how they give you that fact, then you see, well, maybe it's not necessarily true, or maybe it's true to a point. But then if you have to take other factors into account, so it's like the way the information is presented also can be deceiving. So you could say, hey, there's not that many female CEOs, but then if you look at the industries we're talking about, you know, like let's say there was one dominated by men, is it likely there's going to be a female CEO? Maybe, maybe not. So I think there's just a lot. It's more nuanced than that, and people want to just reduce it down to like there's just not enough. But we have to examine the reasons why there's not quote unquote enough.
Well, I mean, whatever the solution to that problem is, I don't want Google dipping its dirty ass fucking pointer finger off into it.
Absolutely.
Just give me the truth. It's your job when I search something to find relevant articles to that, no matter what it says about reality or no matter what you might think it says about reality.
Google's stated goal
You
is
show me the fucking information or you get out of the way and let another company do it.
Just quit
supposed to
editorializing
catalog,
reality.
yeah, it's supposed to catalog the information and make it available to you for you to find, so you can have the knowledge. You can say, well, so like Paul, let's say you're saying, I don't think there's enough female CEOs, so let me go find some research on that. That's what it's supposed to give you that for.
Well, underlying all of this is the presumption of stupidity in the populace. They think that we need an intermediary to filter the truth for us and then feed us the bits of it that are relevant to us. Fuck that. Listen, become a fucking patron, you stupid fuck! What are you waiting for? Huh? Get up, grab your credit card, go over to Patreon and become a patron already! For fuck's sake, what am I gonna do? Spoon feed you epic shit while you lay on your back? You gotta go where the food is! Go! Reach into your wallet, take out that card, go to Patreon and swipe that motherfucker and become a real man!
Or woman.
Or a woman.